So I just saw Da Batman, and it was decent. There are parts of it that I really loved, but I definitely did not connect with everything. What I loved most of it...
I'm sure he usually tells when it has spoilers or not, so don't be afraid.
This movie was the visuals. It was a particularly well-shot film with some interesting lighting choices. It had a very purposeful and consistent look that helped set the tone for the film. Speaking of tone, I really enjoyed their usage of the song Something in the Way by Nirvana. It was a perfect choice that effectively communicated what type of
I don't actually remember
this
song.
For. The way in which it was used was also very appropriate. The amount that it was played was the perfect amount for the film. The original score for the film was also pretty great, and it fit the film perfectly. Or at least that's how I felt at the beginning.
Oh, at least in this movie they didn't go over the whole Batman family dying scene. That was nice. However, I can say this at the end, I guess.
Of the film. About an hour into the film, I still enjoyed the score, just not as much, and by the end of the film, I could not stand it. They were just spamming the same two notes the entire movie. Now, if this score was a specific theme that was used in specific contexts, then maybe it would have lasted throughout the film a bit better, but the movie's 3 hours long, and they were playing it the entire time. Sure, they had different versions where it was different instruments playing those same two notes, but over the course of 3 hours, it was impossible not to get sick of it. Overall,
I didn't have a big issue with the score. I didn't, I guess, notice this at all. I had many different complaints about this movie. I didn't notice the score thing at all.
The length of this film is what hurts it the most for me, and there are certainly 3-hour films that I really love, but
this is a 3-hour movie that you fucking feel it's a 3-hour movie. I couldn't, yeah, I don't know. I thought this movie was ending 3 or 4 different times, and that to me is like an indicator of like, oh yeah, this movie's like way too fucking long.
the reason why the length was such an issue for me in this particular film is because the entire experience is just so one note, or shall I say 2 notes. This entire movie is just essentially the same tone, the same experiences. It's pretty consistent throughout and doesn't change or evolve much. Sure, the story technically progresses, but not in a way that justifies this runtime. A lot of this movie is like a David Fincher murder mystery. Batman shows up and tries to solve a bunch of clues because there's a murderer. It's the Riddler, and he's murdering people. And it's like some 7 Zodiac jigsaw shit. And when each of these riddles got solved, it always felt so unsatisfying. It felt like more often than not, Batman would find the answer to a clue only because he just happened to be communicating with or standing next to someone that knew more about it than him. Like, oh, good thing I just happened to be next to you so you could give me that eureka moment right now. It felt kind of repetitive and underwhelming, personally. This movie is well made and interesting, just not interesting enough to last for 3 hours.
3 hours? Absolutely not.
Spoiler talk now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, then click to the timestamp later.
I didn't feel like Batman had too many like crazy eureka moments either, but I can remember like 1 or 2.
In the video, thank you. Andy Serkis was kind of distracting. I was not a huge fan of his presence in the film. It was weird how his character's existence just felt so obligatory and didn't really add anything to the film. And the way that bomb scene was edited was so...
I don't know. I didn't have a problem with Andy as fuck, what's his name? As Alfred at all. That wasn't like a big thing. I don't know. He seemed fine. He seemed like a good actor. He's a good actor. He was a decent Alfred. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like the Christian Bale one, where, I mean, for me, that guy's like pinnacle Alfred, but Christian Bale's also pinnacle Batman for me, so I don't know. He seemed just like a okay Alfred.
So fucking dishonest and manipulative. Oh, we cut the film to make it look like it's happening right now, but this actually happened earlier. That's some Saw sequel type shit. And then it turns out there wasn't any real consequence to it. He's just fine anyway. He'll probably show up in the next movie. Okay. Paul Dano, I was not a big fan of what he was doing here. When he had the mask on, it was acceptable. What he was doing was like pretty standard. But during the interrogation scene, when his mask comes off, it was legitimately awful. It was legitimately awful. I understand that he is going for some sort of like weird incel thing, but the film is clearly trying to communicate some level of fear and intimidation, right? It shouldn't have been hilarious, right? When he started singing Ave Maria in falsetto, I almost lost my shit.
That was pretty dumb, but I think the film was trying to convey that he's like crazy. I don't think it was ever going for like a fearful thing. I think it was just like, this guy is like fucking crazy, and like his mind was like poisoned by the fucking internet. He's just nutty. But it kind of conveys the same thing, I guess, as like the Joker, if they're going for that point. He's a schizo poster. That's all he is. However, I didn't like that either. It didn't make sense to me when he just started like killing everybody as well. He goes from like killing the corruption in the city into the whole city everybody needs to die, even the random people. Which to me, I never understood that leap in like the character. So I don't know. I didn't like the whole like fourth half of this movie. I don't know. I feel like it was kind of whatever.
It's so weird. They were very clearly trying to emulate some of the same feelings of the Nolan films with this character. The whole crazy interrogation thing, the whole take videos of yourself and send it to the news to intimidate Batman thing. It's doing a few of the same things, and after a certain point, it's like, oh, okay, what can you do? Like, it's inevitable that people are going to compare this to The Dark Knight,
Fourth quarter,
I guess.
yeah.
But man, it really misses the mark on some of these. The interrogation scene was legitimately awful. There are no other legitimately awful scenes in this movie for me, but that was legitimately awful. Robert Pattinson did a great job. I had no issues with his character and how he portrayed the
Very
Batman.
good actor.
Colin Farrell was fantastic. I wouldn't have even known it was him if I hadn't...
Oh. I didn't know that either. I thought this was an actual fat man.
heard that it was him under the makeup. The makeup was fucking fantastic. I loved that. There's some really great shots.
I thought it was an actual fat guy.
But yeah, after having seen it a couple weeks ago now, really the only thing that's
so
left
forgettable
with me is more or less just the tone, which I really
It's
loved.
so
I
forgettable.
mean, the look and feel of this movie is great. But yeah, none of the set pieces
I couldn't tell you what
really
the fuck
stuck
happened in
with
this
me.
movie,
None
really.
of the action sequences really stuck with me. I remember
There was one... I was about to bring it up. There was one cool car scene. One singular cool car scene, in my opinion. And that was when he, like, ramped the car over the fucking semi-truck. And I guess at this point, too. That was pretty cool. The whole car chase was okay. I didn't understand, I guess, too much. How the guys... Fuck, what did he have? He had, like, a Maserati? How his Maserati could get away from Batman's, like, fucking super turbo jet car. I think the chase was just a little too long. But the chase was fine. It was good. You know what? It was good. I'll give him that. It was good.
for some really great shots
It was long.
during the car chase sequence. I also
There were good
remember
shots
that the
during this,
Penguin
yeah.
successfully brake-checked a gigantic tanker truck while he was in his
and then the ramp
Maserati,
over.
and the truck crashed and he didn't, and that was weird, and the ramp came out of nowhere for Batman. Like, oh, that was really, really fucking weird. Like, sure, yeah, it's a comic book movie. It's gonna be cheesy or whatever. Yeah, that's
fine.
But it does
I
kind
didn't
of stick
I didn't have
out
a
for me
problem
in a
with it.
movie that's this seriously toned. And yeah, at the end of the movie where Batman's almost done for, but the villain's like, I'm gonna bring my shotgun to your head very slowly instead of taking the opportunity to kill you right now.
Yeah, those are always dumb shots. I don't know why people include them in movies. I don't get it. It makes the viewer go like, oh, come on.
to take longer right now for some reason. Oh, what's going to happen to Batman? Is he going to die at the end of the movie, or is
Absolutely
Catwoman just
not.
going to jump out at, oh, she saved him. Cool. Kind of cheese. I don't really get anything out of that type of thing. Anyway, as previously anticipated, this movie wasn't exactly my thing, but I
didn't understand the Catwoman and the Batman relationship almost whatsoever at all either. That seemed incredibly forced, but I don't really give a fuck about that whole thing, I guess. I don't know. It just seemed like weird because Catwoman, I think, was obviously in a relationship with the other lady. And then all of a sudden, weirdly, she just starts like Omega Cooming falling for Batman. I don't know.
do give it props for being very well shot, well made, and at times purposeful and unique.
Very well shot. I liked the score. I liked everything about this movie except for the story. The tone was amazing. Steve brought up something when we left the movie. He said it was like, you could have absolutely thought this was in like the 60s when like gangsters were all around, if not for like the scenes with the smartphones. And I think having the smartphones in there was like actually a huge mistake. Not good. Because everything else kind of fits it. I guess besides the fucking Maserati, they would just have to go with older cars too. But I think that would have been cooler. And the live stream, yeah, they can get rid of that. They could just use the news or whatever. But I agree with him. I thought that was cool. Or I think that would have been cooler.
There's a lot that I loved about this movie. I just did not love it enough to last for 3 hours. So check this one out if...
When I heard him say that the first time, I thought that meant he didn't watch the whole movie. But I think really what that means is he liked the movie. He would have liked it more if it was shorter rather than 3 hours long. Because he had like a whole big drama about not finishing movies. So hopefully he finished the movie. I think he did. It sounds like he did.
If you want, it is probably my favorite Matt Reeves film. I've never really connected with one of his movies. I know a lot of people do, so use that for your own judgment. And I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10.
I don't know. It was super forgettable. I think I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's okay.